Hello. Hello, hello. You guys hear me?
Yep.
I can hear you.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Can you hear me?
Can hear you.
I actually thought that you guys couldn't see my video. I didn't think you could hear me.
Yeah, we see you driving along wherever you're driving, and
Hi there. Can you hear me this time?
we got you.
Yep. Yeah, we hear you.
Art.
Hello?
Hello, can you hear us?
So,
Hello?
Host is disabled.
I can't hear you.
Art can't hear us.
Oh, crap. Okay, let's.
Host is disabled participant screen sharing.
Well,
Who is
that's because you guys got here too fast. I'll turn it on. Hang on.
Oh, okay. You can't just move around. This screw's got to move. We got tie-dye going.
All right.
Here. We got
All right,
kinds of crap.
you're up.
Ray's got junk.
You can share your screen.
that's not junk. That's my computer bag and my luggage and my lunch.
Ray, look at this. You might be interested in this.
Can't hear you. Can't hear you. Can't hear you.
T-Mobile launches. You can't hear me?
I can hear you.
Art
said,
can't
"Look at
hear us.
this."
T-Mobile launches its home internet service nationwide.
Well, let's try this
$60
again.
bucks. And this is 5G. Supposed to be 100 meg, $60 a month. Anywhere maybe.
Are you saying I ought to use that at my business or something?
I thought you might be interested. We just throw them out there.
No, I've been beaming internet from one building to another, and 3 companies are sharing one internet access. And it actually is going over really smooth. Everybody's happy. And I'm the only one paying for it, so everybody else ought to be real happy.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'd be happy too. I need a link over here.
I don't quite think I could swing the antennas your direction.
Yeah.
I might be able to catch it. Not really.
I have a question.
It's the wrong. You're pointed the wrong direction.
I think I'm slightly pointed west. You're a little bit more north than my span will reach.
Yeah, yeah.
But that would be interesting to see if you want to pick it up.
I might be able to grab it on like one of the back lobes, but it would be real weak.
I don't know. I honestly don't even know where you're at. If I did know, I could probably tell you.
I'm
You're on the edge of the span.
I'm right. I mean, pretty much we're right in line with you, except at the end of the runway.
Oh, you know, my my antenna that's at North Verity, it has, I think it's a 45-degree span to go, basically it's left and right of the direction. So it's 22 degrees left, 22 degrees right. We might be able to get over there. I don't know. Are you over by that the Frisch's store?
More or less.
Frisch's restaurant?
More or less.
I'll have to check it on the map. That'd be interesting to see if you could catch it.
Yeah, I might.
Because I have an extra nano beam, and it's a point to multi-point. So
yeah. It might be an interesting experiment just to see, but
yeah, you know, if you're at my North Verity location and you look at the antenna, any further pointing left just basically blares the radio wave or the field of view. It blares it right into the side of that apartment complex. And there's no benefit for me to have anything going any more left, which would be southwest. So if I put the extreme limit on my left, and then kind of span the right limit over towards you, I could probably still pick everything up the way that, you know, a good range. And I probably have still good connection to my buildings.
Yeah,
So,
there's a lot of buildings in between us and
Yeah.
your Verity Parkway.
Yeah. yes,
I don't
do
know. It
agree.
might be an interesting experiment. That might be an interesting thing to do
I
one
mean,
day.
I kept thinking to myself that, hey, I'm just skimming over the tree line. But you get over there and there's no way. I mean, I think I'd have fun to use my green laser. I've got this real high power green laser pointer, and I'd love to get, like, in a foggy morning to point from one building over to the other to see really where we at, to see where I'm pointed at. Because that green laser I've got will probably go 7-10 miles. That thing is amazing.
I've got a green laser, and it'll do every bit of 3 or 4 miles.
Oh yeah, this thing I've
Not
got.
something you want to do
My
down
dad
there
gave
by
it to
the
me. It thing's
airport.
crazy.
Do what?
Not something you want to do down by the airport.
Yeah,
Yeah, that might be a bad thing.
that's
On the
true.
camera.
Oh, don't shoot me with that thing.
Oh. Can I go back for a
I
second,
think-
Art, to
Great.
what you were saying before we switched channels?
Sure.
The people who have decoded these devices is that open source where they tell you how they decoded them and what types of things they used?
I'm not sure that they share their methods. Certainly anything that's on GitHub is open source by definition,
Yeah.
but it's kind of like, you know, you say, well, I've got a recipe for doing this, and here's the result. They publish the result. I'm not sure how open they are to publishing how they do it, but I can tell you how I've done it in the past, and that is basically you just get a scope, a sufficiently high bandwidth scope, and you tediously go through each data packet as it appears on the scope. You use a digital storage scope. You capture the packet, and then if you're lucky, what you've got is a something that, because it's so, for example, I've got a receiver that receives the signal from my rain gauge in the house. It doesn't transmit it any place. The rain gauge sends out a multiple pulse packet, and I've got the rain gauge in the house that I can read it with. So what I can do is, if I take a look at a captured packet stream, I can look at what's on the rain gauge and say, well, that packet stream is this number of millimeters of rain or number of inches of rain or whatever. And so you just very tediously go through and decode the packet streams. And I can tell you that's a lot of work, but there are certain protocols that are standard. For example, almost of the these packet streams are what called Manchester encoded, which means that they're NRZ, they're non-return to zero. In other words, the pulse is either high or low, but it doesn't sit at zero for any time. So it's a lot of tedium, but it's basically a matter of looking at the pulse stream with a scope and comparing it with known data and translating it. It'd be like if you had to translate some Martian language, and you basically show them an apple and they say a word, and you show them an orange and they say a word, and you hit yourself in the head and they say a word. You basically got to do it by trial and error.
Well, do they have checksums built in so that they are self-correcting or anything like that?
Yes, they do. They have CRCs, but also I think that's the reason most of the weather devices send repeated packets. If you looked at that earlier screen that I displayed, you notice that the Oregon Scientific um, temperature gauge sent 3 exactly repeated packets, same data, 3 in a row. And for example, on that device, which I can show you what that device looks like in its commercial format, assuming I don't fall out of my chair here. Ow. Oh, so this is the device, like that. And so if I were doing this the hard way, what I would do is I would have my scope set up. I would have the SDR, so it captured the packet, and then I would compare what it said on the screen here. I don't know if you can see that
Yeah.
screen or not.
78.1.
Yeah, 78.1 is pretty warm in here. So this thing is the sensor and the transmitter. Then I've got a unit, which is a receiver that decodes this. But the problem with that is, A, I don't have any way of recording it, and B, it's kind of hard to see when I'm in California. So, so what I wanted was something that I could capture on one of my computers, and then I can query it from wherever I've got an internet connection by just SSHing into my desktop here and reading out the data. So I don't know if that answers your question,
Well,
there, Mike, or not.
exactly. Like the serial numbers on American Money, there's an algorithm that says this is a legitimate serial number.
Yeah.
And I didn't know whether, first of all, the Fed doesn't publish that.
Oh, really? Wonder why.
People making their own money. I'm thinking that if this digital rain gauge decided it wanted to shut everybody out, it could come up with an algorithm that would present a string of digits with a check digit involved with it. And then at the other end, somebody is going to, with pretty good protection, is going to be able to decode it. But even if you saw the stream of digital stream, it wouldn't do you any good without the algorithm.
Well, the reality is here, we're talking about most of these 433, particularly the weather signals. I don't really care if my neighbor can tell what my rain gauge says.
No, I understand that you don't have a particular reason for encoding it. And I can't see that the manufacturer of the rain gauge would have any particular reason for doing it. But somebody might do it. And I didn't know whether those ever cropped up.
Well, I can tell you what they do on the little fobs for your automobile to open the doors and so forth and so on. They have a rotating code, so it is not fixed. So every time that you push the button to unlock the door in your car, that particular pulse stream is encoded. So somebody can't just sit in the parking lot, capture the pulse streams, and then use it sometime later on to open your car door. Those are specifically on a rotating code. However, the weather stations and temperature measurements, rain gauges, anemometers, so forth and so on, you know, there's no particular reason for any security on that, and there isn't any.
Okay. Well, let's go back to the key fob example, because I have two remotes, and this one is 100 miles away from this one. And I use this one to open and close the car. Without quantum entanglement, how does this one know what this one said and what it's going to use the next time I want to open the car?
Oh, well, the way cyclically rotating codes work, among other things, is they're synced up at some point in time. So when the code hops to a new value, they both hop.
Well, how can this one hop when it's 100 miles away?
Well, first of all, that's way out of the range of what we're talking about here. I mean, we're talking about a few hundred yards for these 433 things.
Yes,
But-
I understand. I'm going on your example and trying to follow that. I have two key fobs for my car, and I go on vacation. I leave one of them in the house here in Ohio, but I use the other one to open and close the vehicle all across the United States.
Yeah,
So how does it sync up with the one at home?
they're on a time base. They use UTC. In other words, did you ever have one of these security codes for getting into your computer at work, which was a little thing that was like
I've seen them.
A pen drive,
So
I'm sorry, what'd you say, Vicente?
like a pen drive or something, like a
Well,
dongle or something.
the one I had, well, the several ones I've had were kind of like a pager, little thing.
Yeah.
Smaller than a,
And you have a code on it. Yeah.
about half size of a pack of cigarettes, and they had a LCD screen on them.
Yeah.
And they had a rotating code. So
Yes,
if you
exactly.
wanted to log into your computer at work, what you did is you put in your password, and then you entered whatever the current code was, and that would change. I don't know, it would change every 30 seconds or something like that. And it's a non-repeating random number generator. But the point is that those are synced up. So the one that's on your computer is synced up with that, I don't know, security fob or whatever. And occasionally they get out of sync.
well, okay. I understand that. But I thought you were saying that the key fob changed also.
It does. It changes every 30 seconds or so.
Okay. How
It's
so
because
both the one that I have at home in Ohio and the one that I have when I'm in California, both change at the same rate.
Yes.
Okay.
So yes, they both change at the same rate.
So they don't change depending on whether I execute. They
No.
They change
No.
because of the time.
They are changing at some sort of periodic rate. They are not changing based on the number of times that you've opened your car door or not. So if they did that, then they'd always be out of sync. So the way these things work is they're on some kind of a time base, and they do occasionally get out of sync. I can remember when I had one of them I forget what company I was at the time. I had one of them, and it allowed me to log into the network at that company, and the number on the screen, I don't know, it was a 6 or 7 digit number, would change every 30 seconds or so. And so you had to be fairly quick in your login process, or the key would change before you got all your login done. But what can happen with them is occasionally, if like the battery gets low in the fob, or you leave it out in the cold, in other words, they're subject to certain environmental constraints, and they get out of sync. And once they get out of sync, man, you're never going to be able to get on that system again. And of course, if there is a terminal disagreement with your company, for lack of a better term, they scramble your key code in your gun. Okay, so they don't have to even get it back again. They just say, oops, we can't sync with you anymore. But in any case, that's how they basically, you've got a synchronous thing going on with your, where you need security, like building codes, or door codes, or car keys, or whatever. But even things like your garage door, those generally speaking are not rotating codes. They're fixed. So theoretically, your neighbor could capture your pulse stream and open your garage door.
I think it depends on the year of the garage door.
That's probably true. I
think
remember
a lot of them are rolling codes now.
when I first had my first electric overhead garage door, and this was 1962. The way you worked in those days was you went into the control system on your garage door opener, and you went into you opened up your little thing that you kept in the car, and you set, they had little digital switches. It was, what do they call them? Like a
Dip switches.
Deep switches.
dip switches. Yeah, you set dip switches.
Yep.
And you set them so they were the same.
Yep.
And
That's a horrible way to do it.
it certainly is not very secure. But on the other hand, you know, that was the technology that was available. I mean, you know, you're talking about almost 60 years now, and you know, the technology's changed a little bit, and it's much cheaper to put a little thing in there that rotates the codes than it is to, you know, it's probably cheaper than the dip switches were in 1962.
There is a way, your key fobs, I understood it the way the key fobs are keyed to a specific car. So the two codes match up right from the start. But if they get out of sync, there's a way to get them back in sync by just holding the key fob down.
I believe that's correct. Yes.
To program my second key, I had to first take the key that worked on the car, put it in, turn it to a certain position, do a certain action, then take that out and put in the other one, and turn it to a certain point, and then the car set the code in the second key.
Yeah. So
yeah.
So you sync the two key fobs together, but there's like a
Sounds like a Ford.
Yeah, there's like a like with the apps, you know, the authentication apps, there's a code that they give you right from the start when you scan the thing, and that's the code that they use to verify that all the other codes that you give them is the correct code. So I think with the key fobs, it works the same way. The car has one code. It syncs to your key fob, and then your key fob starts generating codes, and the car verifies that these codes are correct.
Yeah.
Well,
So
Um,
eventually you'll be able to get it back into sync, but it'll take a while.
the dip switches that Art was talking about earlier, my remotes for my garage door opener have over time died. And so I was without remotes. And I found on the internet a web enabled garage door trigger mechanism that the app gets loaded onto my telephone, and my phone communicates with the internet. The internet contacts my router at home, talks to the little app out there on the garage door opener and says, open up.
Well, that's cool.
It was cheaper than buying another remote.
Yeah. Both what you discover the first time you lose a remote or you lose a car key is the cost of replacement is god awful. I mean, I had to get, I didn't lose it. I basically left one in Ohio that I needed for a car in California. And so I went to the local Toyota dealer and I figured, what can a key cost? 20 bucks? Well,
by 4.
it was, if I recall correctly, it was just shy of 200 bucks. When I thought, man, they're trying to remind me, do not leave my key
Do
behind.
not lose the keys. That's
This is,
because of the technology in them. And they
This
have
is
to
the-
be paired to your car.
I
yeah,
ended up buying the right code key. I think it was an FA, uncut and unprogrammed. And it's like, I'm not taking this to Walmart to have this $50 blank cut to a key that won't turn in the car. So a friend of my nephew's a locksmith, and I took it to him, and he puts it in the vise, and he's talking to me, having a conversation. Got the other key sitting there on the table, and with a handheld file, cuts both sides of the key. Yeah, I know you can do that too. But I'm thinking, I wouldn't trust myself to do this with a machine and a duplicator and measurements and whatever. He's doing it by eyesight.
well, so he's got some skills there that he's probably honed over a few years and so forth and so on. Vassus Los. What is it?
We're talking about pairing things and keying things and doing things, because I ordered stuff from China and these were $2 or something like that. So I just had them throw them in. It's a Bluetooth remote key. So there's 6 buttons on this one, and there's a Bluetooth, and there's 6 lights on this one. So you hit a button and a light lights up or triggers a high on one of the pins. So it does something.
How much were they?
They were like $2 or $3. And it was just because I ordered something from, had already ordered something. And I said, okay, throw those in the cart. What the heck? I don't have any idea what I want to do with them. I ordered 2 sets because they were cheap.
Is Bluetooth or
It doesn't say, it does not say that it's Bluetooth. It's 2.4 gigahertz and you have to pair them. So I'm guessing that it's related to Bluetooth in some way.
Yeah.
So this device, the key or the button will only work with that side. So these two share each other.
Hmm.
Oh, we're down to 10 minutes.
Yep.
But
Well, they
I-
could be Zigbee also.
I don't think it's Zigbee because of the way this thing was reading. I
Because
think
Zigbee, I think, does either 2.4 gigahertz or 900 and something megahertz. So,
Zigbee, though, the most of the time Zigbee stuff is expensive, and I would not expect to get Zigbee for
$2 a pop. Yeah.
$3 or whatever this was. Yeah. And if it,
So what is the high? Is it 5 volts or 3 volts? 3.3.
I think the data sheet said that it was the VCC was 3 volts, so
Okay.
I'm guessing that the output would also be 3 volts. I don't see any level shifters or anything on there. But you can there's a little switch down here that says latch and unlatch, so you could actually make it turn something on and keep it on. Hit the button
Really?
and keep it on, or just be a push button. But
You
it
mean
looks
momentary?
like a momentary, yeah. But it looks like that would affect everything. So if you wanted one of these to be a push button and one of them to be always on, I don't think you could do it with the cheapy.
You'd have to have 2 pairs, huh?
You'd have to have 2 pairs. But I figured, what the heck? I don't have any idea what I want to do with them, but what the heck?
The Hero.
So
The
there's
Hero.
always,
The Hero keyboard.
The Hero keyboard.
You use several of those.
Drive around
Your
robots.
hand? Huh? I mean, how
Well,
many?
there's 6 buttons. I could go forward, backwards, left, and right.
Uh-huh.
Stop and start. I don't know. I don't know what to do with it. I just cheap. It was cheap.
64 gig, talking about cheap stuff, 64 gigabyte micro SDs at Micro Center, $6.50 a piece.
that's 64. Okay.
Yep.
I need I probably need 20 or 30, but
I got 2 of them, and one of them is in a camera and works fine.
So now that's the on-site price. You have to come through
Yeah.
the door to do that, right?
probably.
That's all I know about. I walked in the door and got it at checkout. The
Okay.
Micro Center brand.
Yeah, a
I
lot of
periodically get coupons for Micro Center.
I got a coupon for a 32 gig, but I need 64s for my 5 meg cameras.
yeah. I got the 32 gig coupon in the mail.
Yeah,
I may have to make another trip down there just to get me another 32 gig.
Does anybody know whether the Raspberry Pi 4 will take larger than 32 gig for their primary SD?
Find out pretty fast.
I know that the 3B, I think, only takes 32 gig. You can put a larger thumb drive on it than that in one of the USB connections, but the actual boot SD, the 3B max it would take was 32.
Well, I thought I could find out pretty fast.
Hey, Ray, what time zone are you in? Does he know he's muted?
I don't know.
Ray's starting to look like Barry.
Yep.
They have similarities. They may be distant relatives.
All right, you hear me now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hear ya.
Okay. So I don't even know what I was asking the question. But what time zone am I in? I am
Yeah.
between Memphis and Nashville, Tennessee. So I am in Central.
Central,
I'm
right.
I am 110 miles west of Nashville. Just got done taking care of my third high school in a row. All three schools in the same district. They got a whole bunch of money and decided they wanted to get everybody a laser machine. So it's like, great, good for me. And the last one that I was with, he had a whole bunch of these 50-gallon barrels. There's a plastic blue ones. You guys need a barrel?
You can use 128 gig.
Oh, okay. That's
but-
on the 4.
But there's a catch to it. You have to format it differently.
Okay. So are you bringing a bunch of those barrels back, Ray?
I have 3. I'm going to use them for water collection at one of my buildings. So I can, I really don't know what I'm going to use them for. I'm just goofing off. I'm
Is
probably
that
gonna
the
collect
blue
water.
thing you can see in the back behind you? There's a big blue thing back behind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Barrel back. So there's 3 of them in the back of the truck, and there's kind of stacked, right side, driver's side, passenger side, and one kind of stacked on the middle and top. And they're strapped down with ratchet straps. Oh, there it went. No, I'm kidding. So
It's gone.
I had 3.
So what has been in the barrels? What was in them originally?
So evidently, it's really popular over in Arkansas for the farmers to buy certain chemicals for spraying into the, I guess, out into the crops. And so they come in these blue barrels, and so there's blue barrels everywhere over there. And they just can't get rid of them fast enough. They're turning them into like chicken coops and dog houses and beehives, and so there's blue barrels everywhere. And I'm bringing 3 barrels home.
So you probably don't want to use that for drinking water.
Well, I'm going to clean them out really, really good. And I'll probably leave some chlorine in there for a couple days. Rinse that all out, and then it'll be fine.
2 minutes.
Leroy and I did a little bit of research after last week's meeting, and we were talking about what kind of oscilloscope would be economical and usable for deciphering serial communications. And for myself, the best one I found was called a picoscope, and it is a USB-based oscilloscope, and they all come default with serial communication decoding. So $139.
Ah,
It's not bad.
What scope is that down there?
Sigling.
Siglin?
Uh-huh.
Does it have built-in RS-232 and
Yeah.
serial decoding?
Yeah. 4
And
channels.
what did it cost?
4 channels. $3.99, I think.
Okay. Well,
I
the
like-
the picoscope is about the size of I guess 2 or 3 decks of cards, and it's USB based for the computer, and it's only $139. So I thought, it's an interesting one. I have so many oscilloscopes, it's just crazy. I don't need another.
I have several nanoscopes, but they are just toys.
I should
No-
buy
no
I should do
preference.
a oscilloscope raffle to get rid of one of mine. That's what I do.
I would join that raffle. 13 seconds.
Yep, we're counting down now.
All right, guys. I'll see everybody next week.
Nice
Yeah,
to
next
see you.
week. Be careful.